What's up, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of On the Bluff. I'm your host, Christian Fowler. Joining me, as always, my co-host, Gabe Kuhn. Gabe, what's up, brother?
Nothing much, brother. I had a nice checkup today on my son.
Yeah.
That was nice. Pray for Taylor, brother. Pray for Taylor. That's all.
You going through it?
No, I mean she's fine. She's doing okay. But it's more about the percentiles of growth. You want to know these?
I'm gonna say big fella.
94th percentile in weight, 94th percentile in length. So
we
are cooking with grease right now.
Did you get the head size percentile?
Probably 100.
Probably high. Probably high.
Probably. I don't even think you get 100th percentile. You can only get 99, but it's probably still 100th.
How much longer we got? Is it December?
December 10th is the updated.
So he's still.
Yeah,
still
so
got
we're
about
growing.
4.5 months.
With that, I'm taking offers, NIL deals, the whole nine offers. We can figure this out. So
I don't blame you.
Hit my line. If you're in a recruiting room somewhere, you're in a war room, hit me up. My line's open.
What about the weekend, Gabe Kuhn? What'd you do?
College football 25, watched UFC fights, and did some things around the house. That's it. That's my life.
I was near your hometown this weekend. I was in St. Louis.
Yeah, you were in a little STL watching the Cardinals play.
Yeah, and they got smoked.
Yeah, they didn't play well by the Nationals, by the freaking Nationals.
Yeah, so we stayed in the Hill.
Okay, yeah.
So the Italian district, for those that don't know, and boy, did we eat a lot.
Got some good meals.
Yeah,
a lot. Did you work them off at the gym? Did you head to the gym?
Yeah, I went to the gym today. It's gonna take at least this whole week to work.
They have that rib stick in Italian, like that buttery ass Italian
cheese. So much cheese.
So good. Don't get twisted. Great. But it's that stuff that'll just stick to you.
Yeah, and we were like literally a 1 minute walk from the Missouri Bacon Company, which we loaded up on cannolis and all that kind of stuff there. So we ate a lot of food.
I'm glad. I'm happy you enjoyed St. Louis food, because most people that go to St. Louis don't necessarily love the food selection. It's not a great food city. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm from there, not a great food city. But they have their corners, their little crevices that you can find a good meal, and you picked the perfect crevasse to go find some good meals.
Yeah, and honestly, so like I said, stayed in the Hill, ate a lot of Italian food. I think the best restaurant we went to was called Peacemaker. Have you ever been there?
I've never been to Peacemaker. No.
Brother.
Fire? Like phenomenal.
Yeah. It's all stuff imported from like Maine and Massachusetts and Connecticut. So it's lobster rolls and oysters and stuff.
I need to hit it up next time I go in town then.
100%. The lobster
roll. Over on the Hill, I'm with the OGs, and I don't even know if they have a Charlie Gito's anymore, but they used to.
They do.
And they have
Mama's.
Yeah, they do. Those are the go-to, the staples.
Mama's is where we went Friday night, and it was wonderful.
I know, but those are the staples I go. I haven't really ventured that far in the Hill, even though I've been from St. Louis my whole life. You know.
So Peacemaker wasn't. I guess it technically wasn't in the Hill district. It was right next to the brewery, because we did the Budweiser brewery tour on Saturday. And so it was a 10-15 minute walk from the Peacemaker to the brewery. So whatever that's considered. I don't know what part of St. Louis the brewery's technically
Rock on. I like that.
Yeah. So next time you go, check it out. Lobster
Action Pack. I've never run the brewery. I've never done the brewery tour either. So that's something I still haven't done.
It's pretty cool. I mean, It's not too long. Like hour and 15 minutes to me. That's like perfect tour time. It's not too much.
Yeah. Was Anna Ruth with you?
Yeah, we were with her family.
She a beer drinker?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Cool. Yeah. See, I think that's part of it too. So ever since I've been dating Taylor, it's like she's not into beer. So that tour has always been off limits, completely off limits.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a drinker, but it was still cool, because the one we did was mainly about like the history of the brewery and all that stuff. So
a lot of history.
A lot of history. To me, it was cool.
You pull up on that thing, it looks like Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, brother.
It is, dude.
It's massive, and it's right there in like the heart of like an old little rundown neighborhood. So it just pops up on you like, holy shit.
Yeah, and it was built in like 1880 or something like that, which is absurd. So that was pretty cool. But then Saturday night for the game, it was a 6:15. First pitch was at 6:15, 2-hour rain delay. So the game didn't start until 8:15, and then they got hammered 14-3. And I think we left at like the bottom of the seventh, and it was like 10-2. So
I'd have been across the street at PBR or something.
Yeah.
Or the Crown Room or something. I would not have stayed for 14-3 after a 2-hour rain delay. You can kiss my ass on that one.
Yeah, we stayed for a minute. It fell apart in about the 5th or 6th inning, so we didn't make it much longer than that.
The other part about baseball games, for me, it's not about the game.
Yeah, I think
that's the beer and the hot dog I have in my right and left hand. Like that's what it's about.
Yeah, to me, I feel like, and this is from my non-baseball enthusiast perspective, I don't think many people go to baseball games for the game. I think they go for the environment and, like you said, the hot dog, the beer, the ballpark food, the ballpark environment, which is cool. Like I enjoyed myself. I had a good time. Had a really good Italian sausage. So yeah, but I don't think anybody's just excited to go to a base. Well,
there is people.
There are people, and I know there's
some older folks that are really just locked into the game.
But
I go with my dad; he is locked in.
It's just so hard to me, at least. Once again, coming from my perspective, it is so hard to get locked in on a baseball game. Like there's so many lulls, and it's just a lot of it's boring, especially coming from someone who primarily watches football and basketball. Like it just does. It's not an attention grabber to me.
So you don't want to talk about like the Cardinals are stuck in this wild card race, just made a big move at the MLB trade deadline, brought in Eric Fetty, and they brought in Tommy Pham. They're trying to really get into this race, make something happen before the trade deadline hits tomorrow.
No, I'm good.
While we're recording today, so tomorrow it'll be going on when this is it'll be close to the deadline by the time this goes live.
Yeah, I'm gonna say
you don't want to know about that. You don't care.
No, I think I'd rather transition us to talking about University of Memphis football, a topic to me much more interesting. But last Tuesday, I believe it was AAC Media Days. University of Memphis was picked to finish first in the conference, which I don't think really surprised any of us, but I think it is at least good to see that it is being recognized that this team has the opportunity to be very good. And also that the rest of the conference really isn't that scary. UTSA, Tulane, South Florida rounded out the top 4. We had a big discussion on that last week, just talking about those teams, which one's scarier, which ones we would be worried about. But clearly Memphis is the team with the target on the back. They're the team to beat. So what'd you think, Gabe? I'm assuming you were not surprised by this.
Not surprised. They're the most talented team in the conference. They have, I think, behind South Florida, they have the most continuity of any team in conference with their coach coming back, same OC, a lot of different defensive pieces, most of the offense returning. It makes a whole lot of sense. From a 10-win team, if you return most of your roster, you should be really damn good again and probably exceed expectations even more. But now with this pick at the top of the AAC, this is the first time ever that a Memphis football team's been picked to win their conference in any conference they've been a part of. Conference USA, AAC, Big East, I don't give a damn what it was. This is the first time they're at the top. And with that, this is the first time we're dealing with this level of expectation. Right. And I think that like Ryan has said the right things about his team and that first place vote. He says, I don't give a damn. Like, I don't care. I think it's nice that we get the recognition from the media, but it doesn't mean anything on paper. You have to go do it. So he's saying the right things, but I think it's just going to be a challenge the entire year to be that team that's being hunted, that's being chased, that has the pressure on them constantly. You have some players on this team that have never been in that position. They're going to have to get used to that on the fly. So all of this to say, didn't surprise me in the slightest, but it definitely puts an extra, and I know everybody's favorite word right now in social media is aura. There's an extra aura behind this Memphis football team that we've never seen in the past.
Yeah, and of course it's a positive thing to be picked to win the conference. Like, I would never argue against that. I think it's a great thing. I think it shows where this Memphis football team is at. But also, in kind of what you're alluding to, you get everybody's best shot at this point because everybody's looking up to the top of the mountain, seeing Memphis there right now, and presumably should be for the majority of the season. So there's a target on your back. I know I've said that a couple times, but it's true, and you see that with good teams every year. The teams that are picked to win conferences, the team that go to college football playoffs, like those teams get the best shot from everybody. So you have to be ready for that, and that's where having those mental lapses or those off games that we saw Memphis have last year, even though they were able to pull those games out, are going to be even more difficult to win this year because you put yourself in that situation and then that team is pushing even harder. And then you also have the pressure of being the team that is supposed to win it all. So there is a lot of pressure that comes with it. It's obviously better to be first than pick last in the conference, but they have to know that those expectations are there for them and what that means for the teams that they're playing against. I'm sure the coaching staff will do a great job explaining that to them, from now until games starting throughout the season. When you're at the top, everybody wants a chance to be the team that knocks you off or in their mind proves that you're not as good as other people thought. So they've got a little bit of that this season. Now, there are some interesting position battles. There are some interesting new pieces that have been added to this team that I think we'll all be looking for. Who do we see on the field? What transfers are starters? What guys are coming in from different schools and are going to make an immediate impact? And so for you, Gabe, when talking about positions, I know there's a lot of interesting ones that will be happening over the next couple of weeks as camp starts and into the season. So which ones are you looking forward to the most?
I'm looking for the whole O-line first, and then I'll let you get to whatever you think after this. But the O-line is going to be very important. I think you're going to have a couple of mainstays that you don't have to worry about. Xavier Hill will start along the O-line somewhere. He's played some left tackle, some right guard, some left guard, and he's the transfer from LSU that is picked preseason first team All-AAC. He is going to get a bunch of playing time. He'll be a starter. Jonah Gamble, who's been a mainstay for 3 years along that offensive line, I think he started 30-plus games at this point. He'll be a starter along that O-line. He started at center during spring. He started at left guard his first 3 years. So I think those two are mainstays. The rest of the three, let's talk through it, right?
Yeah.
I think you have Trent Holler coming over from Marshall. He's played center, played some left guard, played some right guard. He can challenge for one of the interior O-line positions. But then that also leaves somebody out there by the name of Malachi Breland that I don't think a lot of people are talking about right now. Right. 6'3", 340 pounds. He was a redshirt freshman last year, and he started that AutoZone Liberty Bowl game. And a lot of the intel I get on him is that, he has a really good future ahead of him.
Yeah.
Now, this is a deep room. Will he be able to crack the starting five there? I don't know. But I have heard from a lot of people that I know that do recruiting services for a lot of Division I, Power 4 conferences. I've heard this is a guy that's already been on the list for a lot of them. It's like a transfer portal target if he ever decides to go that direction. So he is a guy that I want to see. Can he go in his redshirt sophomore year and win a position battle? I think at left tackle, we're going to have to go ahead and look really hard. You have Jalen Nichols, who is going to start at South Carolina before tearing his ACL. How is his ACL surgery and his past injury history going to affect him? Will he win that job? Or is a guy by the name of Chris Adams, Old Dominion transfer, will he be involved? This was a guy who we were very high on when he transferred from Old Dominion, because he was committed a week before he committed to Memphis to Washington, a team who was in the national championship a year ago. So I think that will be an interesting position battle to watch. I think right tackle, for the most part, you're looking at Keydrell Lewis, transfer from UL Monroe, really good player, started 30-plus games. I think he will be there. But I think there's going to be multiple position battles along that offensive line. But the positive you can take from that is that clearly there's enough bodies and depth for you to feel comfortable with where this offensive line is going. I've said there's two questions and or concerns about this team, O-line and secondary. I think the O-line categorically would be in that question category, and then that secondary, just because of past history, would be in concern. But those are the position battles I'm most curious about, especially on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, and I think you have to be, if you're a Memphis fan, you have to be very pleased with what's left on the offensive line, meaning the guys that are coming back, and then also what they brought in. Like, that's one of that, and the secondary are the positions they hit the hardest, and you can throw linebacker in there as well.
I mean, the truth of it is you lost in an offseason. Jacob Likes, 4-year starter. McKylan Pounders, 2-year starter. De'Vion Carter, starting right guard, starter for 2 years. A lot of teams, especially in the group of 5, would flail around the next year trying to replace those guys. But it feels like they have just so many able bodies that you almost feel better potentially about what this O-line could be compared to even a year ago.
Yeah. And I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about the secondary because this is the unit that I think we need to see the most improvement from this year overall. And I truthfully think that they have the talent to do it. So I'm going to pull up a depth chart, and I'm going to give you what Our Lads has as the depth chart, and then we'll kind of talk through some of the names, especially the additions. So they've got Davion Ross at one corner spot, Tyron Taylor at the other corner spot, and Darius Coffey at the star, Greg Rubin at free safety, and then Cortland Marsh at strong safety. So that list only includes one transfer from this year, and that's Cortland Marsh. And to me, I think there are a lot of guys on this list that are being left out. Cortland Marsh.
I can name 3 in particular that are just like notable omissions.
Yeah, Cortland Marsh is a transfer from Samford, but then you also have Taj Rael from Old Dominion, who a lot of people are expecting big things out of. You have AJ Watts, another guy that was pretty highly ranked in the transfer portal. Jaden Dennis transferring from Elon, another guy that was, I think he was the second highest rated DB transfer that they have. So those 3 guys specifically, it's weird to see them in the 2 deep. And I know this is Our Lads. It's not like some super advanced depth chart that what are we missing out on. And then another big one, Gabe, is Kobe Minor from Indiana.
Yes, I don't see how bringing him in, he's not at least a starter for a majority of the games. I just like that. His talent, his ability to cover in man. It's just like you need that type of skill set out there. A guy who can stick to wide receivers in man coverage. And I just think from a talent perspective, he's probably the most talented guy in the entire DB room.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. And I think even if you took this secondary with those 4 transfers, if you took Kobe Minor, Taj Rael, AJ Watts, and Jaden Dennis, and that was your 4 guys, those were your 4 starters, I think that is an improved unit from last year. So with those guys on top of, your returning players, which we'll see what you get out of them. It wasn't an extremely impressive group last year, but I think Greg Rubin is a guy who could take a step forward potentially. I mean, we saw the really, really good true freshman season. And I think a lot of us have been waiting on that step forward from him. I know he had the position switch from corner to safety, and I think that's taken in some time to just develop in that spot, not a spot that he played in high school either. So he's a guy that can take a step forward. I think the range of outcomes for the secondary is huge. I think they could be a very good unit in the American, or I think they could fall flat again. I think it's more likely that they're successful because I think they brought in a group of really, really good players. I think those 4 guys specifically that I mentioned from the transfer portal, and you can include Cortland Marsh in there as well and a couple other guys, like they have all the tools to be a much improved unit this year. So I think honestly, both corner spots, both safety spots, and the star position, I think they're all position battles.
They have so many able bodies too. Yeah. Like it's like the O-line. I am so hesitant to crown a defensive backfield at Memphis because of the
Yeah.
PTSD we have from over the years. That's my problem. Yeah. And then a couple of names you haven't brought up yet. DJ Bell, who got a lot of run last year, like a hell of a lot of run. I think he was listed as a starter opening week of the year.
He was. So
DJ Bell is a name, and then Julian Barnett. I know that people have forgot about him after. I mean, he transferred from Michigan State 3 years ago. At this point, people forgot about him. But when you look at the mix of size, athleticism, and potential, he's a guy who could really take a crazy step. And if you listen to Ryan, Jordan Hankins, a lot of the defensive staff coming out of spring, they finally saw the strides from Julian Barnett that they've been wanting to see since he came over and transitioned into being a defensive back. And I think that's a guy who could be a dark horse to be one of the best guys in that room this year.
Yeah, and then there are other guys on this list, and that's what's crazy about it. And I think that's why there's so much competition. You also have Marjavius Moss, who I think was Memphis's highest rated recruit in the 2023 class. So redshirt freshman that had a lot of expectations coming in. I'm just looking through the list here. Cameron Miller, who I believe started his career at Tennessee before.
No, I think he's gone now. He's gone.
Is he
now.
gone?
They haven't updated. I think he transferred out. Yeah, he transferred.
Okay, this is what is
went to Vandy, if I'm not mistaken.
This might be the spring roster that I'm looking at.
That's probably what it is.
But yeah, it's a different unit than we've seen as far as depth and talent. What does that mean? How does it translate? I don't think we can necessarily predict that out because, like you said, there is kind of that battered syndrome with picking them to be good or to be successful. But another thing I'll mention about this unit that I don't think we've seen much of at Memphis, I think there's a lot of good size in the secondary.
Yeah, a lot of 6-footers.
Yeah, a lot of 6-footers. Like you talked about DJ Bell. He's listed at 6'2". Taj Rael, 6'2". AJ Watts, 5'11", 190. Keep going through. Marjavius Moss, another 5'11".
Julian Barnett's 6'1".
Yeah, Julian Barnett, 6'1". Like this isn't the 5'8", 5'9" corners that we've seen at Memphis at times. It wasn't too long ago that they were literally fielding a secondary, especially the cornerbacks that were 5'8", 5'9", 5'10". Like Savante Oliver, I think was like 5'8", 5'9", and JUCO transfer. So they've had a lot of problems with size in their secondary. I don't see that being an issue this year. I think they're long. I think they're fast. I think they're athletic and deep. And we'll see how it translates. I think it is the most intriguing position group overall. And like I said, range of outcomes is huge. It could be extremely successful or it could fall flat. Once again, I don't see it happening, but I'm so scared to say it.
And here's one more thing that I want people to chew on when it comes to position battles. Brought up O-line. We talked about secondary. I think D-line, we'll see what the interior guys look like, but you feel good about what they're going to have on the edge because they've been here for a while, and Cormonte Hamilton and William Whitlow.
Yeah.
Those two guys in the middle. I think P.J. Lucas will get one of the starting nods with one of the D tackles. We'll see what the other one looks like, maybe Derek Hunter. But I want to talk about wide receiver and not the top 2 or top 3. Kobe Drake's going to get a lot of run. You're going to get Rock Taylor and Demir Blankenship. They're going to be really highly productive guys. But past that, when you get into some of these extra sets, where you have 4 wide receivers, maybe going to empty, who else will be on the field? I'm curious. You have Keondae Henry, who was a 4-star last year in that class in 2023. You have Jacoby Banks, who came over from Houston as a transfer. He's apparently a very fast guy who could definitely make some plays using his legs. And then there's one more transfer. Jair Shorter came over from Auburn, who caught for 300 yards last year at Auburn. I think that, again, depth is going to become a word that we use constantly, and we're going to sound like broken records. There's depth there, but I want to see who can separate themselves and become like a mainstay with that wide receiver room, because I think looking into the future, this year will tell us a lot about who's going to be next up in that wide receiver room, who's going to catch passes from Antoine Hill Jr. going into next season or the next few seasons. Is Jacoby Banks going to step up as a sophomore transferring over? Are we going to see some strides from Keondae Henry in his true freshman year? I want to see that not necessarily like a position battle, but to see who can get those extra reps outside of the big 3 in that wide receiver room. That's going to be very fun to watch for me.
Yeah, I think it will too, because I think in the receiver room, it's so easy to have your depth tested. And
Hamstring here, calf
right.
here.
It doesn't take much. And I don't know if they have that depth. I think it's a possibility, but you have so many unproven options past Demir and Rock and Kobe Drake. Like, those three guys.
I want you to think about the past with like those type of guys and how this has worked. We've always gotten to look at the future in the wide receiver room with whoever is that next guy up. When I was playing, we had Phil Mayhew and Anthony Miller, and DeMonte Coxey was sort of waiting in the wings. So DeMonte comes along, right? And then you have DeMonte and Calvin Austin is sort of in the rear view he's trying to catch up. He's in that side view mirror trying to see what happens there. He steps up. Right. Then you have Rock Taylor sort of waiting in after him. You always sort of see the next iteration of that skill position group, that wide receiver position group, grow up before your eyes if you just pay attention to who that extra body is that they trust and they bring in to make big plays.
Yeah. And I think for the future of Memphis football, I think Keondae Henry at least being somewhat successful in his true freshman season. And that, that doesn't mean 700 yards and 6 touchdowns or anything like that, but just seeing that, okay, he's got something, like he can be successful. It would be good to see him chip in at times this year. If someone does go down, like we previously mentioned, or if he's just good enough that they can't keep him off the field, like that is a huge plus for this team, because outside of him, Keondae Henry being a true freshman and Jacoby Banks being a sophomore, this wide receiver room could lose a lot going into the 2025 season, because Demir Blankumsey is a redshirt senior. He's done. Rock is a senior, so he potentially could have one more year, depending. It's so hard to keep up with.
Right. Probably not, though.
Probably not, though, since he was not redshirted. Jair Shorter, the Auburn transfer, is a redshirt senior. Kobe Drake is a redshirt senior. And it's just like, looking beyond this year, you want to see those young guys, those sophomores.
Who has promise?
Freshmen,
as simple as that.
Who can come in and who can make a play if their number's called on.
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. But that's going to be one that's on the back burner for me that we're going to have to keep an eye on.
Yep. All right. Last thing, University of Memphis related, and then we'll move on to the hot three. Believe today, Monday, was Ed Scott's first official day. Is that true, Gabe? Am I right on that?
It is his first official day. When this comes out, it'll be his second official day.
Correct.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do quickly, and like I said, then we're going to move on after this, is in his first 100 days, so whatever that falls on, because my math's not that good. That's a little bit before the end of the year, if I'm not mistaken. What do you want to see from Ed Scott? We've gotten fired up by his press conference and the way that he talked to the football team in the weight room and all that stuff, but what can he do in his first 100 days for it to be a successful beginning of his tenure?
Secure $15 million worth of the additional stadium funds. If you can get to 25 in the first 100 days, hell yeah. Good for you, brother. That's why we brought you here. You secured the single largest donation in HBCU history at Morgan State. If you can go ahead and get $25 million before the end of the year and get phase 3 going, sure, I am all down. But I'm going to set it at $15 million. You can get $15 million in the first 100 days. We feel like we should be well on our way to getting the 25 that's necessary to finish stadium renovation. So that's one. Another thing I want to see him do, I think that there needs to be an understanding, a relationship built with him and Penny Hardaway that's not there already. Go figure out what he needs, what he wants, how he operates his program. You can make some tweaks, but also you're going to have to run that by him. But I think any AD that steps into this situation, if you want Penny Hardaway to be here long term, like we all want him to be here. I know some people get like lost and say, oh, we just hate on Penny Hardaway all the time. All of us want him to be here long term. I think that starts with any AD that comes in here having a good relationship, and then the athletic department following suit, having a good relationship with Penny Hardaway, so everyone is on the same page, because we've seen in the past that we've been on different pages, the athletic department and Penny Hardaway at certain times. I think, the third thing I'd say, and I'm just sort of spitballing here a little bit. I just want to see more selling of the program out in the public eye, creating a bigger brand. But obviously that just comes with finishing your projects, having good products on the field, and continuing to strive for bigger and better things right now. But with that brand exposure, building that brand up, the hope would be, okay, ACC, Big 12, where you at? What you thinking? What are we doing to get ready? We need to get ready to make that jump when the call comes.
Yeah, I think those are all great and all things that I agree with. And I'll close it out with one more point, and that's just to continue the momentum that has been built within the NIL collectives, and continue being the ambassador for that, the face of that, and also continuing to build that outside of like FedEx and these big. I mean, obviously they're huge and they're important, and the University of Memphis athletic department needs those big donations and stuff, but making it even bigger than that. Like if it's even 60% big enough to say we wouldn't even need anything from FedEx and we'd be totally fine. Like I think that should be the goal. I think that Ed Scott should continue to build that up. And obviously that takes time, that takes success on every aspect of the athletic department, on the field, on the court, on the whatever, on whatever playing surface you want to talk about. There's that part of it also. But if, like you're saying, if he's being an ambassador for the program, if he's building the brand, then those things come with it. And I think continuing to build an NIL presence is going to be critical for the University of Memphis moving forward into the future.
Yeah, and one thing I neglected to mention, and this is something we could have a little bit of a conversation about. I don't know how much, but this athletic department, since Laird left, boy, there's a lot of open positions. There's SID for football, SID for basketball, overall SID. You have a deputy athletic director position open since Jeff Crane left, and I was sad to see Jeff leave, by the way.
Yeah,
that was tough. I mean, he was the glue guy for this whole thing. I mean, to be able to help facilitate the renovations and the FedEx deal almost at the same time, Jeff, I mean, we should always be indebted to Jeff for the work he did in Memphis over all these years. But you have a deputy athletic director you're going to go hire. So also another thing he's going to have to get done in 100 days, hire the right people for the positions. Go hire the people that you are familiar with, that can do the job right, and that could be another goal for the first 100 days. What do you make of all the people out? Like part of me wants to be like, ask questions. Does something stink? But part of me also understands Laird out, new AD, right? They're not familiar with other jobs out there for the taking with the success that they have had at this program. Maybe it was just time to make that all happen anyway, and maybe there's nothing going on behind the scenes that's that bad.
I don't think there is. I don't think it necessarily points to that. I think it just is part of this process, like bringing in a new AD and having the success that the University of Memphis athletic department overall has had brings in opportunities. Like you mentioned, Jeff Crane. I mean, sure, I'm sure he would have loved to stay at Memphis, and probably would have been if he was offered the head job.
He took a step up in job. He's in the SEC in the same position.
Right. How do you
at South Carolina, for those that don't.
Right, for South Carolina, at South Carolina, how do you turn that down with getting that job opportunity? And obviously, I would imagine his goal was to continue climbing the ladder, and to continue climbing the ladder, being noticed at a bigger program is
that looks good on your resume.
Right. It's an upward move, which is what you do in the career field. So I mean, I don't think you can blame him there. I think all of it honestly is just part of it. At least right now, I don't think it's any call.
It kind of reminds me of just generally speaking, a coaching switch in football.
Right. Very similar.
Right. Where you're going to have maybe some carryovers in the support staff and the support roles. And maybe you'll have like one assistant coach stay over because he's familiar with the place. And he's a school legend, and you keep him around. Daryl Dickey was that guy through all of these different changes, whether from Fuente to Norvell, he stuck around. But a lot of the staff is going to turn over, and you turn it over to other capable hands that person is familiar with. I don't think it's that much different.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think last point, and then we'll get on. to a quick break in the hot three is that it's a lot easier to leave a place when the person that hired you is no longer there. There's a different, I would imagine there's a different level of security that comes with being up under the person who handpicked you to be there, not someone that's saying, okay, you can stay for whatever reason.
Right.
Not that they're not doing their due diligence, because that's just not the way this game works. But it's not the person that brought you in initially and hired you and decided that you were perfect for that role. So I think that plays a role as well. But speaking of people that hired people, we're going to turn it over to the guy that hired both you and I over here at Bluff City Media, and that is our producer, Kenny Stubblefield. So we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to be back on the other side with the Hot Three.
Do you expect a Kennard deal to happen relatively soon now that this do you think we can get a Kennard deal before the end of the week?
I mean, I feel hesitant to say.
I know it's been so long. I don't know.
There's been so many things, and I sent this to you and Rusty when the Tyus Jones news broke that he was choosing that he chose Phoenix over Memphis. I was like, well, this is probably what was holding it up. But not even a week ago, I sent the same message after Zaire Williams was traded. Like, okay, now it makes all the sense in the world. Now sign him. And he didn't. So now it's just like, okay, they were just negotiating with Tyus, hoping to get the call from Tyus, and he's chose Phoenix. So now Luke will sign. Luke's going to sign.
Here, maybe he's waiting on what's his name, Mamadi Diaz. Maybe they're waiting to waive him, so they've got $2 more million to take.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they're just saying he's saying you just take your time and whatever money you've got, it's mine. You know.
Tune into the Daily Grind with your host, Luke Hatmaker, every Monday through Friday at 7:30 a.m. live on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
This guy 7'5". We expect him to play fast. I heard one guy even say that Matt Painter kind of hid Zach Edey on defense, so didn't allow him to do certain things on defense, and that might have been to protect him from fouls and also just kind of protect him from himself. And that could have played a part of why he never got hurt, because of the way they used him on defense.
I think people think too much to stuff. A lot of these people ain't played basketball apparently, because anybody, if you land on somebody's foot, you automatically twisting or spraining your ankle almost every single time. Every time I hear this conversation, long term out there, these folks never played basketball before. That's what it sounds like. Or they never got hurt when they played. They never landed on somebody's foot while jumping up to try to block a shot. He literally rolled his ankle landing on somebody's foot both times. I have no long term concerns of that. That happens to us. That happens to us at the house. I can walk out of this room right now and twist my ankle.
Right.
Tune in to the Anthony Sane Show Wednesdays and Fridays at 12 p.m. weekly on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
What up, boys? Hey, what up, man?
Getting it. Hey, listen, I want to say this. I know I did hire you. I'm not going anywhere. So if you guys decide to leave, you're gonna have to make that choice of me sitting over here going the whole time.
You're not gonna fire us?
I'm not gonna fire you either. Yes. That's not gonna happen. Oh, and by the way, I know Kirk Downs is a fan of the show. He watches the show. Kirk still has a job, basketball SID at the university. He still has a job. He hasn't gone anywhere. Talked to Kirk a couple days ago, so I don't want to. People hit him up, be like, "Dude, on the Bluff said you don't have a job anymore."
I didn't say Kirk. No, I said Michael Schroeder, which is different.
Oh well, he's head of marketing, but yeah.
Okay, sorry. I'm bad with.
I just want to clear it up.
Their exact roles. Shout out Kirk though.
Shout out Kirk Downs. I want to clear it up. Homie still got a job. That's my man. That's my guy. He's a good dude. All right, you already get to that three?
Yes, sir.
Let's do it, man. All right. Obviously, UFC 304 happened this past weekend. It was a hell of a boring card. I'm going to be honest.
I say boo.
What I heard. I heard it was a good one to miss.
Like 11 straight decisions, or 8 straight decisions, something like that. Dana White got pissed off, said, "I'll never, ever raise the bonuses ever again because you guys
that was bullshit though, dude. Come on. He's like every time I raise it, no one does anything.
Man, get out of here. You had stinking Max Holloway was the last one.
It's 50 to 100,000, dude. That guy makes money hand over fist.
Yeah.
Kiss my ass. There was some good fights.
Number one, that's true. Number two, the last time you did it, Max
300.
Holloway was the one that asked to do it. It went up to 300, and he ended up having the knockout of the century against Justin Gaethje. So get out of my face, man. Like that. I think Dana's a prisoner of the moment, man. And I like it because it makes for interesting watching material, but it's boring.
It would be impossible not to be a prisoner of the moment in that job, though. Like, we all know how you feel coming out of those pay-per-view events, like just how much is just pumping. It would be impossible to watch a whole, 6-hour pay-per-view event that you own this, you run this, to watch the whole thing. Yeah. And then not be a prisoner of the moment. So I get it. I mean, I obviously don't agree with everything he says, but like you said, it makes for good clips and good TV, and it's hard not to be a prisoner of the moment in that job.
I think the best fight of the night, obviously, was the heavyweight fight between Tom Aspinall and Curtis Blades. It didn't last long, but I think it answered, or I think it paved the way for Tom Aspinall and what's going on with him. We talked about this last week as we were previewing the fight card. What is this? Like, what does Tom Aspinall need to do? I said, like, there's an easy opportunity for him to get, if he doesn't come out and dominate, he could easily get passed over, for the John Jones fight with Alex Pereira, as he's potentially coming up. Christian kind of bantered back and said, no, this is actually John's going to be fighting later down the line. If Tom comes out and does well, he could set up a Tom Aspinall, Alex Pereira fight.
I think it's obvious what's happening, what's going to happen.
Tom Aspinall came out and in 1 minute beat Curtis Blades, who is a legit heavyweight. That dude is awesome, and he blitzkrieged him. I mean, it was easy. It was an easy fight for him, and it's just crazy what Tom Aspinall can do out there. What's next? Like, I know Tom kind of threw out some ideas on what's next, but what do you guys think is next?
I think that's it. I think what Tom Aspinall did, regardless of who he fights next, is he made himself undeniable. And whether that is the winner of John Jones and Stipe Miocic, or whether that's Alex Pereira, there's a huge, massive payday coming for him either way. And his idea, like you're talking about, Kenny, was in November at Madison Square Garden, let Jones and Stipe headline the card and put him and Alex as the co-main. And obviously they're not going to do the tournament style. That's not going to happen. They're not going to fight twice in a night or anything like that.
No.
But that right there, that's the ticket. Alex and Tom as a co-main, and John Jones and Stipe as a main event.
I don't think it'll even be I think it'll be main. I think it's perfectly set up. You go on different nights even, because I think there's more money opportunity and better cards you can put together if you split those up. You go Tom and Alex, Stipe and John. Whoever wins each of those fights each other. Bam. Yeah. It's that simple. And I will say this about Tom and his performance against Curtis Blades. His big ass should not be able to move that fast.
No,
his hands he just gets those things out there so fast, dude. And the pop comes with it. He's got power.
Oh, yeah.
Usually some people sacrifice, power for speed. He's got speed and power. Yeah. He has no business being that fast. It blows my mind.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think Johns and Stipe, that fight, at this point, after all the buildup, you have to make that fight. But Tom and Alex would be a great fight. And then whoever wins those two, fighting each other, which I think we would all agree John Jones should be a pretty sizable favorite over Stipe. And John Jones versus Tom Aspinall, or John Jones versus Alex Pereira, like, those are monumental, massive fights.
John Jones versus Alex Pereira is what Dana would hope for.
Oh,
yeah.
Let's be completely honest. That would be fucking, the amount of pay-per-view guys. Good God.
It'd be ridiculous.
The one guy challenging for his third belt, the other guy the best ever.
Yeah. And I think what's cool about it is, and y'all can tell me y'all's opinion on this, but like, the heavyweight division's been kind of blah recently, especially. Even when Francis Ngannou was kind of running it, it wasn't the most exciting to me, because there just weren't that many contenders. And I'm not saying that there's like this massive stretch of contenders now, because there's not. But you got John Jones, who is one of the most popular and the best mixed martial artist of all time. You've got Tom Aspinall, who is kind of on this rocket ship right now and who has really put himself in a lot of big time conversations with not only the way that he's fought, but the way that he carries himself. Like he's an impressive dude. Like he's a good speaker. He's good at, throwing a little bit of shade and kind of calling his shot. And then Alex, who doesn't have to say a word, but is a massive sell just because how big he is.
And scary and intimidating he is. Yeah.
Right. And we don't know 100% if he's going to move up to heavyweight yet, but it seems imminent, and it makes a division that has long kind of been up and down and had its lulls very, very interesting.
Hasn't the light heavyweight taken over for the heavyweight in that regard, where it's kind of like, what are we really watching here?
Yeah.
There's not, Yuri and freaking Anthony Smith is still kicking around in light heavyweight like he has been for years. The light heavyweight division is taking over for the heavyweight division.
I agree.
As far as being just extremely blah.
Agree. And that's because we're talking about John Jones and Alex Pereira being a heavyweight and not light heavyweight.
Yep. Correct.
Those two guys make a big difference.
That's the difference. Hey, real quick before we move on, I do want to highlight one thing. Patty Pimblett impressed the hell out of me on this card. He had a triangle choke / arm bar on King Green or Bobby Green in the first round. And I think the triangle choke is what got him. He was unconscious by the end of the whole thing. Patty Pimblett might be sort of undeniable at this point too. Yeah, that was damn impressive.
I think we've all been waiting on him to kind of announce himself, and it just hasn't happened. And when it felt like it had hit the point where it was going to happen, it didn't. And everybody was kind of disappointed and jumped off the bandwagon. But he looked, I think, the best that he's ever looked. And I don't know if he did anything different during camp. We know he typically fluctuates a lot of weight, gains a lot of weight and not healthy weight. And so I don't know if he didn't do that this time or what. But physically, he looked much better. And he took out a legit dude in Bobby Green, which is
did exactly what he wanted with him, too.
Right. And he hasn't done that yet. He has not beat a legit dude. He's just beat a bunch of bodies. And he finally beat someone who is a legit long-term gatekeeper of that division, and we'll see. That star could continue to rise, or it could be another one of those what could have been, but he at least gave himself the opportunity now to be that superstar caliber fighter.
Yeah, you fully dominated somebody when you have him in 2 submissions at one time, and like one of them, he's literally out cold as you're breaking his arm. Like it's brutal stuff. Real quick about the UFC. Also want to shout out Memphis UFC fighter Danny Barlow.
Yes, sir.
Just announced today that he's got a fight against Nikolai Veretennikov on August 10th on a UFC fight night. Veretennikov came from the Contender Series just like Danny Barlow did. So congrats to Danny. I know he came in and he in his first fight broke his arm, so he's been battling through that and healing from that. Had a fight fall out last minute in the middle of camp. Fight fall out. Now he's got his fight August 10th. So shout out to Danny Barlow. Y'all be on the lookout. We are probably going to be having some stuff with Danny Barlow.
Yeah,
our very own Gabe Kuhn on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel coming up soon. So
and by the way, Memphis, get behind this guy. Get behind him, man. You have I know not everybody watches UFC, but if you do, there is a guy who has a real chance to move up the ranks, be a real contender. Go make it happen at welterweight. Exciting division. Go watch this guy and support this guy.
1,000%. 1,000%. Let's get to the next topic. A couple of contracts in the NFL have happened over this last week that need to be discussed. I'm not even going to frame it. Tua Tagovailoa and Jordan Love got contract extensions, major contract extensions, $200 million worth of contract extensions. Lots of conversation about these contracts. Some saying Jordan Love's is deserved and Tua's is not. Miami made a mistake. What are y'all's thoughts on this, man? It's a lot of money. Is it worth it?
Okay. Let me throw this out there. I think the is it worth it question with NFL quarterbacks is the wrong question. Because if I'm answering that question, no. It's not. Patrick Mahomes per year valuation is now 9th in the NFL. The top 8 guys for per year valuation are
and that deal, not to cut you off, Gabe, but that deal seems so crazy when it first happened.
Honestly, even when it happened, I told people, I was like, this cap's going to keep going through the roof.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we knew.
You have him at $50 million a year, you're living life.
We knew that was going to happen, but still, like when he signed a 10-year, $500 million contract.
But it was 10 years. That's the thing. That's what people need to pay attention to more so than the per year valuation or the whole valuation of the contract, because he may not, if he were to like stop playing, he doesn't see all that $500 million. But if you ask me, is it worth it on most every NFL quarterback contract? I'm going to say no, because the top 8 guys on a per year valuation standpoint are 16 and 17 in the playoffs, and they have 0 Super Bowl wins. So, like, if you just look at the statistical categories that matter as far as winning and losing championships, just spending money on these guys does not get you where you want to go.
Sounds like Justin Herbert. Where's his contract? That whole
he's like 6th. He's like 6th, something like that.
Crazy.
But is it worth it? It's the wrong question. I think if you're saying, is it worthwhile? Yes. Like Jordan Love and Tua to me are. They were both top 7 in passing yards last year. They have both shown an ability to be franchise quarterbacks. They have both been very solid with the weapons they've had around them. And I think for an NFL franchise, if you're not winning championships, which is also always the goal, don't get it twisted, you have to sell hope. And I think both those guys sell hope at the quarterback position for their respective franchise. And that's sort of what you ask for. That's how you put asses in the seats. That's how you keep your fan base engaged, is by keeping those guys around. So I think it's worthwhile, but is it worth it on the surface if you're talking about the ultimate goal, winning a championship? Probably not. You're paying too many guys. You're paying too much money to that guy, and then you lose out on paying the rest of your roster, and eventually it just becomes a problem at that point, which is why the Chiefs and I think the Eagles, and I think I could put not the Lions in this category, but who's the other team? The Lions. I could put the Lions in this category. Getting out ahead of contracts, paying them big salaries at the time where they age well over a couple of years. That's how you win, and then you draft well. But, both of these deals to me, if you are saying that Jordan Love earned that money and Tua didn't, I think you're wrong. I think you are holding a grudge against Tua for the injury concerns we had a couple of years ago.
Yeah, and I'll go with a different question rather than is it worth it or is it worthwhile. To me, the biggest one is it necessary? And that is a resounding yes.
Yes.
What else do you do? And that's what I think maybe casual fans or people that just look at the numbers don't understand and get mad about, like Tua or Jordan Love or Justin Herbert or Jared Goff or whoever it is signing these contracts. It's like, what else do you want them to do? It's the only way they can keep them is to sign them to these $55 million plus per year deals. What happens if they don't? What are the Dolphins going to do if they let Tua walk?
Skylar Thompson, baby, step in.
Right, or have 3 or 4 terrible years and waste, Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and these players that probably would not re-sign with them if they didn't have the successful quarterback. Or in Jordan Love's case, like when you look at that Packers offense, that's what they have. I mean, they moved on from Aaron Jones and they paid Josh Jacobs, which I think was a questionable decision. But their receiving core, Jaden Reed, Dontayvion Wicks, Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson, Luke Musgrave at tight. Like they don't have anybody impressive. If they don't have Jordan Love, that offense is nothing. And then what do? Start from scratch. So I understand that they are big numbers and they freak people out, and some people they make angry because people shouldn't be paid this much a year to play football or whatever that argument is. But it's necessary. It has to happen. To be competitive, you have to have a quarterback. And once they've been successful and, led the league in passing yards like Tua did last year, then they have to be paid. And I don't know if you're paying attention, but Tua wasn't practicing. Tua was holding out in hopes of a new contract. And I know people are so anti-Tua, but he's good. He's
not great. He's good.
I mean, he's a top 3 system quarterback.
Yeah.
in the league.
Yeah,
System quarterbacks. I'm not saying he's a top 3 quarterback, but he's a top 3, like, fit the mold of the system quarterback. He cannot fit Mike McDaniel's offense better. He runs it to perfection. He is the point guard of that offense. And somebody has to be able to effectively get the ball to Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle for them to be successful. And he does that at a very high rate. I mean, that offense was incredible for the majority of the season last year. So you can only tear that argument apart so much.
And this is so not the conversation. But I guess if you are pro Jordan Love getting money and anti Tua, I guess you could do the thing where you're like, oh, if they were both free agents right now, who would you sign? Jordan Love, Tua. I'd sign Jordan Love, but that's not the conversation we're having.
Right.
And again, with quarterbacking, what people need to understand, who's the highest paid quarterback in the league? Some people would say, oh, Joe Burrow, oh, Jordan Love. No, the answer is the next one.
Yeah.
The next one. The next quarterback to get a contract is going to be the highest paid. If Dak signs back with the Cowboys, he will be the highest paid quarterback in the league from a per-year valuation standpoint. He might touch $60 million a year. That's how this shit works. Yeah. And the more people just come to an understanding of that, the better you will, feel about seeing the way these numbers shake out. Now, also, 2020 draft class, NFL draft class has now become the a quarterback draft class in 2020 has become the most successful contract getting quarterback class of all time. Joe Burrow was number 1 pick, 5 years, $275. Tua was number 5 pick, 4 years, $212 million. Number 6 was Justin Herbert, 5 years, $262.5 million. Number 26 was Jordan Love, 4 years, $220 million. Jalen Hurts was 53, 5 years, $255 million. They have crossed into the billions with the amount of contracts that they have got. And that's success. That, in my opinion, looking at success in the NFL, yeah, we can talk about production all we want, but especially as a quarterback, can you get to that second contract and make buku amounts of money? That's how I define success.
If I was making $55 million a year, you couldn't tell me much of nothing.
You couldn't tell me shit.
I want y'all to close this portion of the Hot 3 out. I want you to put on your GM cap for a second. And Jordan, like Tua, we've seen there's kind of I guess I would say years of consistency at this point, right? Like 4 years of him playing. We've seen the numbers. We've seen what he can do. It seems like he's maybe turned the corner on those injury issues that he had. With Jordan, he's played 1 year, right? He's had one successful year. Put on your GM cap for a second and say, okay, Christian said it is absolutely necessary to make that decision to extend him to that amount of money. But when do you go from we need to see more from him to put that amount of money into or to say we know that he's worth?
Nope, we may have lost him. I think I know where he's going with it though.
I'm back. I'm back. Oh, I'm sorry. My internet is acting a fool right now. I'm sorry. When do we, as the GM, like how do you make that decision to say you're worth it, even though we've only seen for a year, to we want to see more before we put that amount of money into a quarterback?
Well, I think specifically talking about Jordan Love and the Packers, like they did not have a choice to do so.
I think the problem I run into with that question, Kenny, is if you have other options, we can discuss this. But these teams that sign these guys to these big deals, they don't have any other options on the table. Right. And, for Tua, you starting Skylar Thompson. For the Packers, I don't even know who their backup is now. It was Kurt Bankert for a while. You're going to start Kurt Bankert. You know what I mean? And I think he's a video game streamer now, so I'm being facetious. But it's about options that you have behind the person. If you ask every quarterback to show me more in the NFL, 31 of 32 quarterbacks would be out of the league.
True.
Right? Josh Allen has never gotten through to go win a Super Bowl. Joe Burrow, he's gotten to a Super Bowl, but he hasn't won.
Lamar Jackson.
There's only one quarterback in the league who has shown you the requisite amount of production and winning to legitimately make a case to get $60 million per year, and that's Patrick Mahomes, and he's 9th on this list.
Yeah. And I'll close it out with this. I think when you look at the Packers paying Jordan Love, obviously very unique situations. Like quarterbacks do not sit for that many years before they get an opportunity to start. It's a very rare thing. It's a very pretty much only Packers thing in the NFL, and maybe more teams should pay attention to it. But what I will say, first full season as a starting quarterback, to do what he was able to do, especially down the stretch. The final 8 games of the year was pretty much top 5 in every statistical category, with a very underwhelming offense. As I've mentioned, weapons, running back, pretty much everywhere that offense is underwhelming, especially last year outside of really Aaron Jones. And the offensive line had its moments. But to play the way that he did down the stretch, to go into Dallas and murder the Cowboys, who were the 2 seed or 2 or 3 seed at home, 12-win team, and to do what he did to him, like you don't have an option at that point. He did everything he could possibly do to show you that he can be that guy. He could potentially be a Super Bowl caliber, Super Bowl winning quarterback.
And let's hit the rewind button too, because I think people need to put this into perspective. Last year, the Packers moved around and restructured Jordan Love's contract to make it strictly last year as a prove-it year.
Correct.
And when you prove it in that prove-it year, you get paid. Look at Dak Prescott twice over. You know, if you get set up for a prove-it year and you, beyond a shadow of a doubt, make the playoffs, win a playoff game, you're near an all-pro, you're a pro bowler, you throw for 4,000 yards, you keep the interceptions down, that's the way of the world. Now, I wonder if we can change going into the future. I wonder if, like, at some point, you know, some team just decides we're just going to keep rookie quarterbacks and we're not going to sign a guy to a second contract. We'll just start over the clock every 5 years.
Yeah.
But I don't envision that anytime soon. But that would be the way to get around all of this stuff.
Yeah. All right, Kenny.
Last point I'll say about it is this. It's just so interesting to me to be in that job of a GM and have to knowing full well I have to make this choice to sign this guy, when he could very easily not have that sustained success. Right?
Yep.
Part of it.
Yep.
Part of it.
It's like,
and then here's the other thing this is a conversation I'm interested in too. Of those top 8 quarterbacks that sort of fit that mold of per year valuation, who are the riskiest ones? Who have the riskiest contracts in the NFL? Because I would put probably Trevor Lawrence at the top. 55 per year. He's one of the top paid quarterbacks. He's tied for number 1, and he had $200 million worth of guaranteed money. That is as risky as it gets. Jared Goff could fit into this. $53 million per year, getting up into his 30s, wrong side of 30.
I mean, hey, Deshaun Watson's still up there, isn't he?
Well, Deshaun Watson, that's a given. We knew that from day one. $230 million, 200 coming off all of those cases where he got massaged or whatever. Yeah, that off top. That almost goes without saying, but I'm glad you said it. Jared Goff, though, $175 million on the wrong side of 30.
Yeah.
One time he got to the Super Bowl, he was horrible. You know what I mean? So I mean,
I just the job of GM, I'll be a fan. Y'all take that job.
I would even say, like, it's a fluctuating scale, but to a certain extent, Joe Burrow is very risky.
Injury-wise.
The injury history and the amount of money they have given to him. Like, even the best quarterbacks in the league are risky because you pay them wanting a championship, but 9 times out of 10, Patrick Mahomes is going to win that championship and you're going to be at home crying.
That's hilarious. All right, let's get to the last topic. I've titled it Steve Kerr's coaching malfeasance. USA opened up their pool play against Serbia, Nikola Jokic, or is it Nikola? Whatever it is. Nikola Jokic. And they stomped them 110-84. It was a fun game. LeBron James did his thing. Kevin Durant came out for the first time.
Real quick before you get into it, I saw something the other day. It was like bold predictions for Team USA or something like that. I can't remember if it was ESPN or Bleacher Report. But their number one like hot take or prediction for Team USA is that Kevin Durant's scoring average for the Olympics would be under 15 points per game. Because he's 36 now, and it's time for the young guys to take over.
He's played in 3 Olympics, and he's averaged 19 points per game.
Yeah.
He's the leading scorer.
He scores the highest. He's got the highest average in history. He's got the most 20-point games in history in Olympic play. He's got 11. Michael Jordan only had 6. What a shitty take. What a shitty prediction.
It's just crazy to see Kevin Durant play against dudes like that and be like, holy crap.
Well, the thing is, Joel Embiid, there's some players, right? Like SGA for Canada, Joel Embiid, they are too used to the NBA rules. So the FIBA rules kick their ass.
Yeah. Joel Embiid.
Kevin Durant's offensive game and the way he operates on the floor is so beautiful.
Yeah.
For the FIBA rules, because he doesn't foul hunt. He finds his spots and he raises up and he shoots the ball.
Yeah. Did you see? Okay, just to highlight how nasty of a dude this guy is. That end of half play where they had him at the top of the key on the opposite side of the floor, set a couple of back screens for him, threw the ball over the top. He caught the ball spinning in the air, stopped. He's 7'1"
and 36.
And 36. Man, like
no one can contest his shot.
What is going
nobody
on?
in the world outside of people on Team USA who can go contest him.
Unbelievable. So we talk about him being an older guy and, giving time over to the younger guys. There's one guy who did not play, and this has kind of been the main storyline coming out of this. And I kind of half joking about Steve Kerr's coaching malfeasance, because what the hell is he supposed to do, right? Like he has got a team full of superstars on that court. Jayson Tatum, world champion, Jaylen Brown won Finals MVP. Just
all
unbelievable
NBA,
player. All NBA, first team All NBA for the last 3 years. Didn't get a single sniff of the court during that game. And everybody's like, what the hell, bro? Like, let me answer this. When is the last time Jayson Tatum got a DMP coach's decision ever in a game? Did he
Probably literally never.
Probably the first time ever. It's more understandable with this roster, I can say, but if you're asking me what I think about it,
what do you think? What do you, is Steve Kerr, is it crazy that he didn't play, or is he just kind of like?
Let me preface this. Steve Kerr's explanation was that it was matchup based, and they had good bigs on Serbia, and they needed a better perimeter defender out there to take whatever they had left in the backcourt. And Derek White was better at that. He played 16 minutes, one of Jayson Tatum's teammates, and he was the guy who got in over Jaylen Brown famously, and he probably shouldn't have. He should have been the 12th guy on this roster. You didn't expect him to play a whole lot, but he played a whole lot. But then after the game, he's like, I feel dumb for not playing Jayson. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about it. It was disrespectful as hell.
Yes.
It was super disrespectful.
Yes.
And if you're going to make the excuse or at least give the explanation that it was matchup based, I guess I can buy into that if you really felt that way. But there's no effing way did he really feel that way? You think you're going to lose out because you take Derek White off the floor and Jayson Tatum's off the floor?
Yeah.
Kiss my ass. Like that excuse just doesn't hit how it should. Derek White's a great defender, and I think Derek White's a phenomenal player. It's a surprise that he's never been on an all-star team in the NBA. It feels like he should have by this point.
It's not, though.
But if
Derek White is just another. Anyway,
if your excuse is that you would have lost more minutes with Derek White out of the game and Jayson Tatum in,
that's silly.
That is disrespectful to Jayson Tatum.
Yeah.
That is as disrespectful as it gets. The guy has earned it. He's been on the last 3 first-team All-NBA teams. He's an NBA Finals champ. He came over, and even in 2020, they won, and he was on that team, and he played a big, prominent role. I just thought it was plain up, straight up disrespectful. And here's the other part of it. Steve Kerr could have helped himself a little bit. They were up by 15-25 in the waning 3 minutes of that game or whatever. Put Jayson Tatum in at some point. You have a big enough lead.
Yeah.
If you're really worried about the matchup, they may lose a couple of minutes, but at least give him some minutes. He came over to Paris for you guys. He's taken time out of his summer to go play with the Olympics. Give him his fucking due.
Yeah.
I don't think it's that hard.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest takeaway from it is it's just really disrespectful to honestly one of the best players in the world. If this was Derek White that was sitting, I don't think we'd really be talking.
We wouldn't have that conversation at all.
If Derek White didn't play any minutes, we wouldn't be talking about this because, like Gabe said, he wasn't really expected to play a big role. Most people believe he shouldn't really be on the Olympic team, and I can't totally disagree with that at all. Even though he played relatively well against Serbia, but Jayson Tatum's one of the best players in the entire world. Like, you have got to play him. And at least something crazy didn't happen, like them losing this game.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my gosh. It would have been terrible.
Well, but and listen, I thought this was one of the best games they've played through exhibitions and even play. But at the same time, I don't think you're losing that much taking Derek White off the floor and putting in Jayson Tatum.
You're not losing anything.
Jayson Tatum is B+ to A- at everything that requires being a basketball player at the highest level. He can rebound. He's above average at that. He can get people involved. He's above average at that. For his size, his ball handling, he's above average at that. Finishing at the rim, above average. Shooting, above average. Defense, above average. Everything he does is above average. You're telling me you couldn't find any space or opportunity for this guy?
0 minutes.
That's just, I can't get it. And Steve Kerr after the game saying, I feel dumb for not playing him. He's just adding to it.
Yes.
It's like you really should.
You should.
And it's mind blowing. It really is. Derek White should be an afterthought of getting into the game.
Yeah.
He spends an entire season, Jayson Tatum, guarding the best players in the world.
Literally every team's best player for the most part.
Well, Jaylen Brown does that too, but yes.
But I'm saying, you're telling me the third best offensive player on any given NBA team isn't as good as Stanislav Lagalaga from Serbia?
Bogdan Bogdanovic. What are we talking about?
What are we talking about, man? Like, I'm sorry. I don't buy it. Steve Kerr lost me in the FIBA World Cup when he forced Jaren Jackson Jr. to play the 5 the entire time, when he had Walker Kessler. I
told y'all last week the guy's on fraud watch, and he's probably a fraud.
Like, you forced and ruined Jaren Jackson Jr.'s confidence coming out of the FIBA World Cup, forcing him to play the 5 when you had Walker Kessler, who didn't see the damn floor the entire time. And it's like, okay, now you come out and you tell me matchup based, you had to play Derek White over Jayson freaking Tatum.
Now, you know what made me mad too? He talked about the next matchup against South Sudan. He's like, oh, Jayson Tatum's going to get a bunch of playing time. They have a bunch of wing players that are super athletic. I'm like, dude, your team USA, you can play. You don't get your matchups dictated by the world. You make them dictate the matchups against you.
Yeah.
That's what the whole thing I can't get behind it. Why are you, yes, you should worry about matchups and substitutions and who would play well against certain things, but at some point you have to realize the other team has to deal with who I have on the floor, and Jayson Tatum would have created an immediate mismatch on the offensive end with whoever he had guarding him from freaking Serbia.
100%.
Good God.
Have you guys watched anything else in the Olympics? Like, what has been your favorite thing so far?
Who's the pommel horse guy for the?
Oh, dude, that guy is so
gymnastics guy. The guy looked like he was a freaking teacher's assistant at Brown or something. Who is that guy?
One event, Christian, because he's the best pommel horse guy in the world.
Yes, and he kicked ass, and they were 7th when he took over at pommel horse because it's the all around competition.
What is that? What is that?
Do you know the big brown looking thing that they spin around on?
They spin around it.
Okay, yeah.
And then they do the little
That's his only event.
They went from 7th to 3rd, and they got bronze because this guy came in like Kobe Bryant in the 4th quarter, man. Like, it was but he looks like you should have seen him on the sideline. He's so unassuming.
Yeah,
he's got like these glasses on,
dude,
and he's just sitting there the whole time, like nodding off, trying to take a nap. His name's I have it here, Steven Nedorozic.
Yes,
Steven Nedorozic, dude. You go look this guy up. It is hilarious. He's like the U.S. sweetheart right now, and he just is so unassuming looking over there.
And it's just funny because he's like the ringer for this USA gymnastics team. Like, he doesn't do anything else.
Because who is it? It's China and somebody else who always wins. Or am I?
No, it's China. China wins.
Yeah,
gymnastics all the time. Yeah,
they kick ass. So like if you're the U.S., they hadn't in the all around competition, they hadn't medaled since 2008.
Yeah.
So this guy came through, I swear, like Kobe Bryant in the fourth quarter of an NBA Finals game, man. It was unreal to watch. All the pressure's on this guy, but he just blocked out everything. And
he takes him from seventh to the podium, man. It's so dope.
It was sweet.
He does look very unassuming, by the way.
Yes, dude. Like I'm telling you, he looks like a teacher's assistant in the anthropology department at Brown University.
That's extremely fair.
Nice specificity there. That was awesome, Gabe. That was.
And then Simone Biles.
Oh my!
Tweaks her calf. And still post top scores in vault and the floor, and she's leading the all-around competition heading into the final tomorrow.
Yeah,
she's such a
she's the best. She's the best Olympic gymnast of all time. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm not being prisoner of the moment by saying that. She's 27 years old. These gymnasts don't have shelf life like that. She does though.
They usually don't make it out of their late teens, early 20s.
And she has like she does, it's like the Yurchenko double pike off of the vault, and no other woman in history's ever landed that.
Yeah,
and she did that with a bum calf.
Yeah, it's not the Yurchenko double pike, it's the Biles.
It's the Biles too, I think now.
She submitted it this year to the judges as her move. Nobody else does it. Like,
because that's but how badass do you have to do that with? You tweak your hand, you tweak your calf and your ankle, you get it taped up, and you're like, I'm good, let's go. And then tomorrow for the final, she was asked, like, are you gonna have to sit out somebody, like, what are you gonna do? And she goes, I'm doing all 4 events, I don't give a damn, let's go.
Yeah,
I'm like, I love this woman's awesome, and she has a Netflix documentary that apparently is supposed to be pretty good.
Yeah, I've actually, ironically enough, started watching that last night, so
let's go.
Made a little bit of way through it. It's pretty good. Check it out. Talk about all that. She's got 5 moves named after her. Because you have to apparently nail them in competition, and she's done that with 5. You either have to do it at the Worlds or at the Olympics, and she has 5 moves named after her.
Like, think about that. Her at, like, with a calf strain or whatever that she has, her at like 75% is
still better than anybody else.
It's like it's like steps better than any other woman in the world.
Yeah. 100%.
Christian, what are some real quick? What are some sports you're looking at? What are Olympic sports you like, Christian?
Badminton. Rugby.
Badminton. I did see a little bit of badminton. I did see a little bit of table tennis. I'm not a huge fan of both of those. I will tell you, although, the one I'm looking forward to, I think the most, and I don't believe it's happened yet, but I can't truthfully say like I'm keeping up 100% of the time. But the surfing
it's happening right. It's happening right now.
Is it happening right now?
Badass.
It's supposed to be incredible this year because they've got the massive waves. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing at least the highlights of that. What else did I watch?
What's the river, by the way? The Seine River or the Seine River, whatever it is, the one crossing right in front of the Eiffel Tower. Whatever the river is, they spent the Paris Olympic Committee spent $1.5 billion to like clean it up because it was dirty,
of course.
And then they had one big rain right before all the athletes started getting there, and it swept like a shitload, no pun intended, of sewage into the river. So the triathletes, they can't practice. They haven't been able to practice because the E. coli levels are too high in that river.
Because they were saying they weren't going to swim in it anyway, and apparently like the mayor jumped in and swam in it and stuff, trying to show people that it was okay.
Is he alive?
Is he sick?
Is he
okay?
I don't know. I hadn't seen anything.
Is he growing a third arm?
He's been on the toilet for the past week since he jumped in that river.
Yeah, it's rough.
Exactly.
All right, fellas. That is going to wrap it up today. I don't know of any other show in the whole entire world that can go an hour and a half with literally nothing to talk about. But, boys, we find a way to do it each and every week. To everybody watching, appreciate you guys for watching this week. If you are watching on YouTube, you can like, subscribe, and comment there. If you're listening, Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcast, you can do all the same things there. Also, bluffcitymedia.co. All the articles, podcasts, and videos are on the website. Once again, we're thankful, as always, for you joining in, and we will see you back here next week.
Thank you for listening to On the Bluff. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a rating and a review wherever you download your podcasts. Also, like and subscribe to Bluff City Media's YouTube page. Head over to www.bluffcitymedia.co for comprehensive coverage of Memphis sports and how you can become an insider.